So I started from zero, right? And then my first month I did like 15K sales. And then in month two, three, I am at 180K revenue generated. So all of this is with one closer. And we're gonna like 5x that number in the next 8 weeks to like 500K a month, and then have like additional setters join us. And then my goal for the end of the year is to get to 1 million a month.
With all that being said, Deval, welcome to the podcast. How's it going, man?
Doing great, man. I'm glad to be here. It's an honor to be on your podcast. I've been watching your episodes for the last few months, wanting to like scale like precisely the way you coach, and it's an honor to be here, man.
Let's go, dude. So, one of the first questions that we always ask when people come on is, what is your offer? What do you sell? Who do you help? Just so people have an idea. And then also the price point. So we have an idea of where people are starting out.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So we help individuals take their background, their work experience, or their personal passion, and we take that and we help them build an AI powered workflow that they can commercialize, bring to market, and build a business around. So typically, on average, it takes about a day to build a product, but it takes longer than that to acquire the customer. So we coach you on everything from like not just building, but actually like building a business, not just building a product. And that's a 90-day, 12-week program. So results vary, but we aim for, the input will decide the output, but we aim for anywhere between, typically 3,000 to 20,000 a month in recurring revenue for our clients.
Nice. And because the majority of people that watch this will be like business owners and things like that, or agencies, coaches. What is the price point of your offer?
Yeah, so we are a coaching program, and it's a 90-day coaching program. It's a one-on-one coaching program, and it's a $8,000 price point.
Nice. So yeah, one of the things that I love about even just what you're talking about there is it's not just about the AI, because I think there's a lot of people that are like coaching on AI, but a lot of times, and I'll even be a self-proclaimed like nerd in the AI space. Like I'm always just like trying to create workflows and how do I like make my life a lot easier while using AI. But a lot of times, like if you're too deep into the tech side, but you don't understand the business side, like you've probably seen this too with people you've worked with. It's like they might have really amazing ideas, but when it comes to actually like implementing and prospecting and getting clients, it's a different game. So that's something that definitely stands out to me for you on what your offer is building. Have you seen something similar with people you've worked with?
100%. Yeah, people think that just because you know how to build an AI product, you will make money, and that's far from truth, right? Just because you can think of an idea doesn't mean you will be able to commercialize it. And a lot of engineers don't realize that. So they're stuck in the build mode, they're stuck in the solution mode. And the real success happens when you shift that from like solution to demand side thinking. So yeah, I absolutely concur, man. I used to be this, I'm still recovering engineer where my head would naturally go to like, how do I like build this instead of like, who needs this and how do I like position this in a way that helps them solve their problem, right? So that's a natural friction for people who are builders and creators like us. And I found that making that shift is one of the most significant things people can do in this journey of building AI powered products.
Yeah, so I want to dive into that because that's usually the next part that we go, just so people can kind of understand the full idea of kind of where you came from. So bring us back to like before you even had the agency, before you started the business. I mean, we'll talk about it later, but just to kind of give some people something to wait for, right? Is you were able to go from zero to $180,000 revenue, 120,000 cash per month in a relatively short amount of time. So, but before you hit that, right, hit that stride, what were you doing before you even had the business in the first place, the coaching business?
Yeah, I was literally working as a teacher for local universities here, Berkeley campus and UC Irvine. I was just coaching and teaching Python and deep neural networks and all that, the technical stuff. And it was fun. It was very fulfilling, but it was never like as a teacher, you never make the kind of living that you want to, create here in North California. So I already had like always had like regular ass jobs working for corporate leading their AI divisions. So, that was my main job. And then I also had a third side hustle where I was literally pumping out new AI products every quarter they were just like making like 5, 6 figure revenues, right? So I was doing all of that. My main goal at that point was to transition to being like a coach, but I couldn't make a living doing that. So I was stuck in that limbo right before I met you guys.
So when you say you were like stuck in that, like what kept you, I guess, in that position where you had these like you're spinning kind of all the plates of you had the job, you're building, kind of building the coaching stuff, you're building the AI products. What was like that turning point for you where you were just like, all right, I'm just gonna go all in on the coaching side?
Yeah, man. So this was when I realized that I'm giving away like 70 to 60% of the revenue to the organizations that I was working for, right? So all I did the math, I'm a math guy, right? So I did the math. At one point, I was sitting in a class, there were like 60 students on a Saturday morning. Each of them had paid thousands of dollars to be there. And I looked at the math and I was like, wow, look at what I'm doing here with my time. And is it what I should be doing to achieve my goals? So and then I realized that I spent 3 months running a boot camp, making barely minimum wage, just doing it. And then I realized, man, like my energy is not really focused on the highest leverage things right now. And then I was I had my daughter first, and that changed everything. Like, so I was like, this has to scale. If I how to be an inspiration to my kid, I have to be, living life that is more aligned. So that's when I was like, I'm gonna go all in. I'm gonna invest in learning this stuff, and that's when I met you guys.
So for a time frame, so we're in May 20th is
Mhm.
the day. So when did you join?
Exactly about a year ago, like May 20th. Yeah. That was
Nice.
precisely when I joined, I believe. May 10th, somewhere between May 10th and 20th. I know this because May 10th is when my semester ended. I was like, I can't wait for the semester to end. I had written it down like May 10th, I'm done with this bullshit. I'm done with this. I'm done. Like I'm gonna get out of here. I'm gonna do my own thing. So I know May 10th was the last day of my last like previous job.
Yeah. Dude, that's cool then. We're getting a little a year long year kind of like look at what you've been able to scale. So that's cool. So, one of the things that I'm always just from a marketing perspective kind of curious on is like how did you find us in general? The referral ad, like do you remember the ad that it was? Like how'd you find us?
Yeah, I found the ad from Cole, I believe. It was a Cole's ad, and it was something along the lines of, "We'll help you scale your coaching business, or you don't pay." Something along those lines. And I was like, this is interesting. Like, how can he make that guarantee? So I hopped on a call. And like many of my own prospects, I didn't show up on the first call. I was like, I was not like, I flaked. I was one of those guys who I hate now, but I flaked on the first call. And then I was like, what the hell? Why did I do that? Like, I need to really take care of this area. So I,
Why
booked
why
another
why did you
appointment. I got.
flake? Well, it was intentional, like you just didn't show up. Like was there a specific reason? Maybe like skepticism or something like that?
Yeah, I think it was just a skepticism of like, or just like more importantly, I think it was just like going through this like, do I really need to learn this? Like, do I need to do this? Or is it just like, um, can I do it some other way? Do I have to go it this way? Like, I think people have a lot of blockers, right? I had a lot of blockers when I was starting out my journey of like finding that alignment. And I came up with like various reasons on why I should not be doing it. I would be late. I didn't actually flake. I was like 8 minutes late, and there was 8 minutes late, and there was nobody on the call, rightfully so, right? So I intentionally sabotaged myself there, right? Yeah.
Mm. So
Yeah.
how did you come back into the like what made you want to come back or how did you get reset? Like what was the process?
Yeah, I just rescheduled it. I think I messaged back to this text message I got, and I got the rescheduling link. And then once I got the rescheduling link, one of your dudes was on the call with me. I forgot his name, but in 20 minutes, I was like, "Yeah, this is exactly what I need to do. Let's go." Yeah,
Nice. Cool. So it took you a little bit to get scheduled on, but once you did, you were all in basically.
yeah,
Love it, man. So what was the next step from there? So you come in, like if you can remember, right? If we're talking about a year ago, can you remember like what did your first experience like onboarding call, like how just kind of maybe paint that picture of how quickly did things start up?
Yeah, I was pretty passionate because I was like fired up to like never having to go back to teach this the next semester or in the summer. So I wanted to go fast. So what happened is the first thing happened is I had a call with the account manager. I got the homework of coming up with the offer, designing the offer. I got a lot of like hands-on templates that I can use. I got a lot of good training. I remember this training from your guys' EFI method. That was like really good
Todd.
video. Like yeah, Todd Brown and Cole's training. That was like opening for me, eye-opening for me. I watched that and I watched all your other training and I was like, this is gonna work. I'm gonna go all in. So then I created the offer and that was the first thing I did when I came in and I got a lot of support there. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's a big piece that a lot of people kind of like overlook. And maybe that's not the right word, but they don't think that the offer is the most important when like I mean everyone talks about like, if we're talking about Cole or Alex Ramosi, right, with his book of $100 million offers, it's like that is the piece. Like if that piece is good, then it makes your marketing a million times easier. So I guess touching on that, if you really dove into to that type of training, for understanding that we might have people that are listening that are business owners or someone that's in your position of like I need to either refine my offer or create a better offer. What are some of the things that you did to help position your offer better to the market?
Yeah. The main thing I did was shift from like you're gonna build to like you're gonna get the outcomes that you want, right? And I shifted my thinking from where I was traditionally, which was I'm going to teach you everything about AI to forget about AI. Yes, you will learn everything about AI, but my offer will create the outcomes that you're seeking in life. And generally, like those things are not necessarily dependent on AI. They are just looking for that, the thing that they're looking for and designing the offer to meet that desire instead of like creating a whole new desire, like they talk about in the training, was super helpful, right? So channeling an existing desire
Mm.
to match with my offer was the biggest shift I made in terms of my thinking, right? So instead of like creating a whole new desire around what I was selling, I channeled existing desire and adjusted what I was selling, what I was promoting, what I was coaching to match with the existing desire. And that was the biggest shift I think that I made.
Yeah, that's huge. It's so funny. This is really top of mind because I just made a like an hour long YouTube training video on like offers and creating scalable offers and stuff. And as you said that, I was like it was kind of like checking off my brain of like, channel existing desire. Just to kind of go a little bit further with that too, just so people can take tangible out of this. Like another example is for one of our old offers, RCA. It was basically a training or not a training, but like a coaching program, right? 12, 16 weeks teaching people how to become a salesperson, right? That was like in essence, that's basically what we are doing, right? But back to your point of like channeling these existing desire is if we would have marketed that as like, oh, become a salesperson, like nobody, there is no desire there, right? Like no one, at least for the most part, unless you're like a psycho, I guess, no one really wakes up like being super excited, like I want to be a salesperson today, right? But when what we did is we took the existing desire of making money, right? How to make money online, and we positioned our offer as like this is the easiest, or not easiest. We never said that, for we don't want to make it sound easy. It's like this is the simplest. You don't have to start a business. Like this is the most efficient way to make money online. That was the desire, and we just channeled that into our offer, right? So I just wanted to give another example so people kind of understand like what's channeling that desire is, right? But huge point because a lot of people try to create desire, and if it doesn't exist, then it becomes really difficult to sell. So what happened next? So you
Yeah.
you you refine the offer. How do you start getting people in? How do you start marketing? Like what's the next step?
Yeah, man. So when I finalized the offer and it was like looking good, I got the review from your team. It was solid. I was like, oh, now the hard part is over. Now I can relax. I'll put the offer out and people will start signing up. But then the actual work began after that, right? So my offer, once I put the video out there, once I put the campaign and it was up and running, for the first like couple of campaigns, Facebook would reject your like campaign for like because it's a new ad, a new account, like they will be super conservative with you, right? So all of that, like be patient, being patient with that was a process, right? But stick with it, you'll get through it. It's just part of the journey. And I did it, and then after that, the video ads started sticking and they started taking off. And I was getting some of the best calls per booked metrics, like less than $50 at some point, at
Nice.
that point. So that was
We
pretty
need to take
cool.
some notes from you.
That was awesome, man. Like you guys coached me really well on how to like run all of those things. So I was getting pretty low cost leads, high quality leads. But I was terrible. I was terrible. I was still like learning sales. I was reading scripts for the most part. I was literally just reading my script, looking down and
Mhm.
just reading my script. And that went on for like 2 months, like literally 2 months. Like I was just screwing around, just like figuring things out, getting a lot of coaching too. Like, but it was like I was so bad. I needed so much coaching in this area. So I stuck to the process. I got coaching from Tony every week. He would coach me. Then I would go to all the calls, the weekly calls. But that was the process. Sorry, I got too much here. But like, does that help you answer your question? I don't want to get ahead of myself. But
Yeah,
yeah.
no, that's perfect. I mean, I just have follow-ups of like just so I can keep it in my head. So what were like some of those time frames there? So like I guess you come in, you create the offer. I guess how long does that take? And then where how long is it until or no, how long short is it until you actually like crack the code of like, okay, here's how I sell it. I'm getting better at sales. Like what was that kind of that time frame?
Yeah, great question. So May 10th, I go all in. By June first week, I have the video up and running, the campaigns up and running. I'm starting to take calls in the middle of June, starting my first call in the middle of June, less than a year ago. And then from that point, I made my first sale within the first week of the taking the calls. And then I gradually got better and better. I had my first 30K a week, 30K revenue generated. Cash collected was terrible for the longest time. I was like very bad at it. But revenue generated was there. Like I was getting revenue generated numbers up. You focus on things that you can control. So I had that area that I could sell the contracts and people were signing the contracts and blah, blah, blah. So I
Hmm.
was getting 30K within like by the middle of September through June, I was doing 30K revenue a week. Um, which was great, but was not consistent. I would do this for like 2, 3 weeks. I would do a great job, and then like things would just fall off, and I would not make a single sale for like 2 weeks. Like I was in that phase
Hmm.
for like 2 to 3 months, starting July, like until November. I was in that phase, like on and off, right? So that was where I was.
Yeah. So what was the because you talked about I think that's a big thing that you said and even earlier where you're like I realized that the real work began once once the offer was created because now you have to do the sales calls and things like that. And I think an important thing for people to understand is like you never fully solve the problems, right? It's like if once you solve a problem, next problem arises. Like that's the whole purpose of business, right? It's like we're in the business of solving problems. That's why we get paid for stuff, right? So what
Yeah.
was the the one thing that you mentioned was revenue was decent, cash was not as great. So what were like some of the shifts that you did that you can give to someone that's like tangible of like, hey, you're listening to this and your cash is low. Here's some of the things that I did to fix it.
Yeah. Yeah. So the reason I realized I was low on cash collection in that middle phase of my journey was mainly because I was not a believer of like the same mindset principles that some of the principles that we teach here, which is if people don't pay, they don't pay attention. And I
Mhm.
found this very clearly, the patterns. Like people who were on the payment plans, they were on the payment plans intentionally. They were just dropping off. Like they were not do the homework. They would not do the like the $500 clients would never like do the homework on time. They would never like show up on the meetings, on the coaching calls. They would never ask any meaningful questions, right? So started realizing that I am doing not only myself a disservice, but I'm doing them a disservice. And a lot of it was sales kick. I have to be very candid. Like people who are in high ticket business, if they're not using sales kick, they're crazy. Like sales kick AI is like a critical piece of the infrastructure for high ticket, right? So what I found is that I also didn't have the courage to ask for more money when they started like talking about their challenges in life. So I would just accept their thing for the face value. Like someone would say, I have to like I have this home renovation coming up. I need to like I can only make this much. And I would just accept it and I would just take the minimum payment they can make. And then I started realizing that sales kick, I got sales kick and it gave me the liquidity score. So the liquidity score is like an indicator of the financial health. And then with that data point, I was able to negotiate much more effectively on cash collection. And then realizing that, so having that tactical input, and then also like working on my mindset of like, hey man, if they're not gonna pay, they're not gonna like do the work. So like really like if I want to build a business, I need people who will do the work. I cannot just have people pay the small installment and then disappear. Like that will like not be fun way to like have a good life, right? So
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's a big piece too, like, just really understanding the difference between like units and actual like cash in the door, right? Because like, a lot of times when people are first starting out is they're just so like their mind is like, all right, I need to close X amount of deals. And the cash is kind of secondary and not every single time. But what you start to realize is it might be a lot more worth it to you to maybe only sign three clients that pay 5,000 each, right? Or the full 8K that you talked about versus, 10 people or 20 people or 30 people that are paying you $500 payment plans, which by the way, half of them are probably going to drop off. And then the other half just aren't going to implement anything, So it's just, it's
yeah.
really figuring out and understanding those numbers. Like you said, I mean, you said you're a math guy and a numbers guy. So just really understanding like what is the true bottleneck and how do you like solve that, right? And for you, it was just being more serious of like, just having those conversations. So I guess tangibly, what did you do? Did you just, on the sales calls, you were just like, hey, I'm only working with this amount of people? Like what was like the action step that you took?
Yeah, I would just stay in the game a little longer. I would do open wallet, which was an open
Mm.
wallet training that I got from Tony and a lot of other sales coaches like David Davidson and um, Jeff, right? The,
Yep.
the the
Mhm.
guy from UK.
Yeah.
They were super instrumental in helping me get over the hurdle of like some of this last minute like objections. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. For those
Open
that
wallet
are
was a big one.
Yeah, for those that are listening, the open wallet is basically just like you basically ask them how much money do you have? Because a lot of times when you start to have those conversations, these objections of like, can you do a payment plan or whatever, they're just smoke screens and they're not actually needed, right? Or maybe they you don't have to do like the full pay, but you're collecting more than the $500 a month. So Cole Gordon has a ton of trainings on this, and if you just search up Cole Gordon objection handling, you can find it. So okay, so what was kind of next in that process? So I guess we kind of gave a little spoiler earlier, but like where were you before you jumped in, and then where kind of are you at now in terms of revenue, cash, all that kind of stuff? Now that you have the cash collection tricks.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. So man, I was my first so I started from zero, right? Just so you have the baseline. And then my first month I did like 15K in like sales with like close to like 5K or something like that collected. And then in month two, three started ramping it up. Right now I am at 180K cash, like 180K revenue generated with one closer and 120K cash collected. So all of this is with one closer. And we're gonna like 5x that number in the next 8 weeks to like 500K a month, and then have like additional setters join us. So right now is a short time for us. I'm focused heavily on training this and ramping up this new employees that I just brought in and building the team and like making sure that we are hitting that 500,000 mark within the next 6 weeks. And then my goal for the end of the year is to get to 1 million a month by the end of this year.
Nice, dude. That's epic. I think you have the product for it. I mean, you're teaching AI, and that's like I'm not saying it's the hot thing now because it's kind of been around for, last 2 or 3 years. For you, you've been doing it, you were saying like you would have been the next what's his name? Sam Altman if you found us sooner. I
Yeah.
think that's what you said on the
Yeah, man. If I had the
um
skills, man, yeah, I would totally beat him. I could possibly still do it, man. I'm probably gonna
yeah,
aim
I
for it.
believe it. I'm on board, bro.
Yeah.
So one of the last things I wanted to touch on just in terms of your experiences with us and stuff, like I know you said you have the one closer now, which you said you went through the recruiting. So maybe just touch on like the overall recruiting process, how kind of that experience has been.
Yeah, so I worked with your recruiting team and they know precisely the kind of culture I'm building here, the kind of like offer this is, the customers we have. And they found this one dude who was just a perfect match for the offer. And it took very little time, a month, for that person to start doing 100K months. Like crazy, right? So I could never have found this dude on my own. Impossible. Like they figured out this one guy who precisely fits the offer, the customer demographics, the type of culture I'm creating. And me being able to hit a 10 out of 10 on all three of that with my level of business experience and knowledge, impossible, right? These guys have your recruiting team knows like they know the stuff, man. They know their stuff. It's crazy.
Love it, man. What was the just so we can kind of have like a uh almost like a step by step, like what was the process for you? Like how many interviews did you would do with the guy? Like how did you get connected? Just maybe walk through how the overall like yeah, just the experience overall.
Yeah, so we started off with like looking at my numbers. So, one of the things that I find very like interesting is that you don't just like recruit people, you make sure that I have a solid business health before we bring anyone on so we can like clearly support them. So that's like really inspiring because you don't just like you're not just a recruiter. You want to make sure that this business actually works. So that was amazing. So that was the first eye-opening thing. The second thing you did was like you made me think through all the ways. You made me create a playbook, right? A playbook, a scorecard, a training, and like a full like infrastructure was there or not. Like you made sure that the guy who comes will not be just like waiting, sitting, and like wondering where did I just sign up for. And then the third thing is like you provided all the support and coaching for that new dude to come up to speed. So you offered one-on-one coaching, you offered the group coachings, you offered all the training that you have created, and that became like the whole thing. Like that was just like that. Imagine like a new sales manager trying to do all of that. Impossible, right? I could not have done any of that.
Yeah, man. I mean, I think the thing is you a lot of times we don't know what we don't know, right? And if you've never been a sales manager, it becomes really difficult to be a sales manager, right? It's like so that's what we always recommend to people and why people come to us. It's like, hey, if you want to like spend the next year or 2 years, like number one, mastering sales and then figuring out how to master sales management and lose all the time in between, like have fun. But if you want that process of, from someone that's not only done it, but has done it at this point. I mean, over, I mean, thousands of times at this point. You know what I mean? In terms of placements, I think we average like 200 to 300 placements a month. So it gets pretty
Wow.
intense in terms of the amount of people that we place. So I appreciate the kind words on that. What would you say to someone that might be on the fence, like maybe they've gone through some coaches before, they see a bunch of people like other online coaches, and they're like, maybe I should go with them. Like, what would you say someone that's on the fence of working with us specifically?
Yeah, I mean, this is me. I was that dude. I flaked on the first call, right? I was like I kept watching videos and I didn't even show up for the first meeting that I scheduled with you for 8 minutes and then I rescheduled it. So I'm exactly that dude that you're talking about. I'm exactly that person that you're talking about who is on the fence, who was on the fence for like 2 weeks, despite knowing this is exactly what I need. This is what I have to tell you. If you're that person, here's what my recommendation is. Like, this is as real as it gets. The people here care about your results more than you do. Like, they know stuff that you don't even know. They think through the second, third, fourth order consequences and they share it with you and they save you from making mistakes that could potentially cost you millions of dollars, that could potentially cost you 6 months of time. Like, it's crazy to try to figure this out on your own or with someone else when you have someone who has already solved this problem. Just like, I'm so glad I found Cole. I'm so glad I found Sales Team Accelerator because now I have that one less thing to worry about, and I need to just focus on the roadmap instead of inventing the roadmap. That's the biggest thing. If you're on the fence, it's because you think you know the roadmap. But here's the thing, you don't. You don't. Just accept it. You don't know the roadmap. You have no idea. That's why you're where you are. Like, get on the roadmap, get on the execution train. Magic will start happening.
Dude, this mic drop moment there. I will I mean we could just end it there, but what I want you to do just really quickly is just think about like, think about maybe where you were before, or think about kind of like just a piece of advice that you would give to someone. Like what you just gave was great, but maybe you have one more piece of advice that you would give to someone that was in your position back then. Basically a short year ago. I'm gonna do an outro really quickly. Just think on that, and then I'll come back to you, and then you can give that to me. So
Yeah,
for
man.
those of you who are listening, I mean, you've probably listened. I mean, we've probably been talking, I don't know, 40 minutes at this point, and you're probably at a point where you're like, okay, Deval is dropping some knowledge. He says, get on the roadmap. What I'm going to do is down in the description of this video, and also on the audio version of the podcast, wherever you're listening, there is there'll be a link to check out a really short video, and then you're going to be able to apply to work with us at Closers.io. So we do sales very differently. We don't do it like, we're not going to twist your arm and force you to join. We're not going to do any high pressure stuff. We're literally just going to get on a call with you, ask questions based on like, hey, where are you now? Where do you want to be? What's holding you back? How can we support? And if we think we can help, we're going to show you how we can do that. But if we can't, we don't think it's the best option, then we'll obviously point you in a better direction. Maybe that's just continuing to watch free content here on YouTube, or through other trainings that we have, because we have a ton of those out there. So you can click the first link down in the description and in the show notes on the podcast app, and we'll have a conversation once you go through that. So Deval, what you got for the beautiful people as their parting words, as your tip?
Yeah, I have this quote from my favorite mentor, distant mentor, Paul Graham, is like, what a founder sells and how that founder sells it. They usually think that these are two different problems, but the truth is they're not two different problems. What you sell and how you sell it is one and the same problem, and you need to figure out how you're going to sell it before you figure out what you sell. And that requires you to have faith. That requires you to have faith in yourself, and that requires you to become a different person, a person who can extract insights, a person who can have a conversation around someone's pain, around someone's dreams, and can extract that and channel that desire towards something that he has expertise in or she has expertise in, right? So, my words, final words here are like, don't confuse what you are selling with how you're selling it. They're one and the same thing, and the best way to master that skill is to like get on this train, is to get on the sales team accelerator train.
Dude. Well, thank you so much for hanging out with us. I think, anyone listening to this, whether in the AI space or not, or just trying to build their business, I think you gave some pretty good insights and knowledge that people can take away from the episode. So I appreciate you spending the time and hanging out with us. For those of you who are listening again last time, you can click the links down in the description or in the show notes to book a call with the team. If not, all good. With that being said, this has been another episode of the Scaling Less Stupid podcast. My name is Aaron Martinez from Closer.io. We'll see you guys in the next one. Talk soon. Peace.